Michaela Chester here with NCAA Digital. I've got Tara Henry here with me today from D1Softball. We're going to break down some softball storylines now that we're a little ways into the season, getting closer to the Women's College World Series. Tara, it's been flying by. So I want to start off with the most obvious one of all, Oklahoma. Breaking records this season, 30-run rule wins, absurd. But then Texas was the first one to beat them. How do you do it? How do you beat Oklahoma? Obviously, they're still a national title contender, but do they just have to have an off day?
I think this is why we love sports. At any given day, any given time, any team can win, but it's a little bit tougher when you're facing Oklahoma. I'd say you've got to have great pitching in the circle. You've got to limit mistakes. That means making sure that your pitcher is not leaving the ball over the plate, because if you do, we know what happens with that OU offense. And then timely hitting. We saw that with Texas. We saw, Mary Iacopo, and then the rookie Mia Scott just coming up clutch. So you got to have good pitching, you got to have timely hitting, and you got to play some defense. Pretty simple. It sounds simple, but you've got to limit the mistakes, and you've got to make sure that it's 3 outs in any. You can't give OU that 4th out.
But OU is still just a front runner for the Women's College World Series and title with, Jocelyn Allo, Jordy Ball. What do you think?
I just actually had another interview talking about this, and I think the Sooner fan base is so used to perfection that anytime the Sooners drop a game, like, oh my goodness, what's going on? I would be very surprised if they weren't in that championship game. And incredible stuff. The biggest question mark, we said this in the beginning, was the pitching staff, and Jordy Ball. The rookie comes in and she just gets it done. An incredible competitor in the circle, and then she's got that offense to back it up. So I don't think that we've anything to worry about in terms of Oklahoma, and I'm pretty certain we'll see them in OKC.
Can we go through the top 5 a little bit here? Obviously not that many changes from the beginning of the season. The top dogs are still the top dogs, but Virginia Tech is one of those that made a big jump to number 3.
Last season, I actually watched Keely Richard in the Los Angeles Regional. And I remember thinking, gosh, if she just had another arm to help her out, just eat up some innings for them and a little bit more of an offense, they would have, and they gave UCLA a run for their money. And she got both of those things. So we've got Emma Lemley, the rookie, in the circle, and an offense that is just firing on all cylinders. So yes, Virginia Tech, biggest surprise in terms of jumping in the rankings, but I think we all knew if they got another arm, they'd be right up there. So we're looking at Virginia Tech, UCLA, another one, Bama, obviously at the number 2. We've got Montana Fouts, Lexi Kilfoyle in the circle for the Tide. And then Patrick Murphy's done an incredible job with his rookies coming in. You got Bloodworth and Lord with a huge, a couple of pinch hits, and just fun to watch. And Dallas Goodnight, of course. Bama, got my eye on Bama. And then Florida State, we all pretty much counted them out last year, and then they ended up in that championship series. So an incredible offense in terms of what we saw from last year to this year. And, you've got Lonnie Alameda as your pitching coach. So a staff that is really, really tough to beat. So that's what we're looking at the top 5. And again, all kind of firing on all cylinders in that top 5.
We mentioned Virginia Tech being a surprise, but what are some of the other things that really kind of caught you off guard this year? What surprised you the most about 2022 so far?
Nebraska, the Cornhuskers, they are just playing the game, having fun. Rhonda Ravel, she's just an incredible leader. And that squad, they only have 17 players, which is a small squad at, this day and age. So really surprised with how they're doing. And they're at the top of the Big Ten. Talk about the Big Ten. Another big surprise is Michigan. I think Lexi Blair, the injury to Lexi Blair has hurt them a bit. But even before Lexi went out, they were having some struggles, and now starting to kind of be a little bit more like the Wolverine squad that we know and are used to. And then we'll look at Arizona and Oregon, 2 teams that have historically been big contenders and top 10 teams. And Caitlin Lowe in her first year at the helm for the Wildcats, they struggled a little bit. They had a nice series win this past weekend. and against Oregon. So again, Oregon a little bit down here. So surprised about both of them in terms of not performing to what we think they normally do.
Yeah, and Florida too obviously started in the top 5, now in the bottom half of the top 10. What dropped them a bit?
I think Florida, they've had a few bigger losses and just trying to find it in the circle for the Gators, and then their offense went cold. Charlotte Eccles is not as hot as she normally is, but again, I wouldn't count them out. They've got some big time players that do some big time things in big situations. There's a reason Hannah Clutch Adams, we call her Hannah Clutch Adams. I would. I wouldn't count them out just yet, but they're not performing again to what we normally see out of the Gators.
Yeah. How about some more top players since we last spoke? Obviously, we know the Jocelyn Allos of the world, but who are some other players that are kind of really impressing you so far this season?
I don't think we give enough love to Arkansas, the Razorbacks.
I agree.
I'm just so impressed with Courtney Deifel and what she's done with that squad. You've got, Gibson and Gamble on the corners, just mashing balls. Lenny Malkin, and then Shanice Delse, the transfer. She has stepped up big and really provided a second arm for Mary Half. So Arkansas, I can't say enough about what they're doing there. And then we could go across the country. I've got so many names here. Sydney Sanders, Arizona State, the rookie, she just mashes. Like, she just is an incredible hitter. Rachel Lewis out of Northwestern. Last week, she was on base 10 times and she scored 10 runs. I mean, she just ignites that offense for the Wildcats. Bailey Klinger out of Washington. I mean, the list goes on. We talked a little bit about Florida, but Skylar Wallace, key transfer from Alabama. She has done an incredible job at shortstop for them. Her and Kendra Falvey both just lights out. I love speed, Michaela. It's just been really fun to watch them on the base paths. And then Michaela Edenfield at Florida State. She's a redshirt freshman, so she had an entire year to learn that, offense, to learn as a catcher, to sit and be with those pitchers, and really impressed with what she's done behind the dish. The list goes on. Mac Barbara from San Diego State. I could talk about players all day long, but those are just kind of a few that come to mind.
Oh yeah, we could go all day on that one. There's just so many this year, it feels like. Lastly, Tara, I want to hear some storylines that's really important for us to watch out for as we get closer to the Women's College World Series. What are you excited to see?
I think keeping an eye on OU, see how they do ending, Big 12 play. That loss to Texas. Again, is it just a fluke? Are they going to come back stronger? I'd argue they're going to be even stronger than they were. But keep an eye on OU and how that pitching staff does. I think, are we going to see a Big Ten team back in Oklahoma City? Is it a Northwestern? Is it Nebraska? Is Michigan going to have, start, firing on all cylinders and get back there? That's something to watch. And then, Virginia Tech's Emma Limley. This has been a hot topic throughout the last couple of weeks. The illegal pitches, and are umpires going to call it? Are they not? And are they going to call it across the board? Is this going to be a hot topic heading into regionals, into supers? That is something I'd keep my eye on. And then, of course, UCLA, Megan Framo. She did not make it to the Women's College World Series last year, and she's on a mission. I've watched her throw, a significant amount of games this year, and she is on a mission. So keep an eye on Megan Framo and the Bruins to see if they can make it back to OKC.
Absolutely. Well, a lot to look out for, Tara. Thank you so much for joining me and breaking this down today. Appreciate your time.
Thanks so much for having me. I can't believe it's midway, but it's been great. Thanks so much.